You probably read today the story about Iran has sort of agreed to the terms. They're not going to make, I call it in a friendly way, nuclear dust. We're not going to be making any nuclear dust in Iran. And we've been strong. I want them to succeed. I want them to end up being a great country, frankly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. That's the only thing. It's very simple. It's not like I have to give you 30 pages worth of details. There's only one sentence. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And I think we're getting close to maybe doing a deal without having to do this. There's two steps. There's a very, very nice step, and there's a violent step. The violence like people haven't seen before. And I hope we're not going to have to do this. I don't want to do the second step. Some people do. Many people do. I don't want to do that step. So we'll see what happens. But we're in very serious negotiations with Iran for long-term peace. And if we do that, it'll be fantastic.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on this beautiful Thursday night in America. That doesn't sound like a president who's going to put us into World War III, puts us on the precipice of war with any country. But for years, the Marxist Dems, the mainstream media told us that Donald Trump was going to drive us into a war. He was going to cause World War III, and he was going to make America disappear. But he's done absolutely the opposite of what they accused him of trying to do. He's done the opposite of everything the mainstream media said he was going to do. In fact, just last week, President Trump parted ways, let go, replaced, repositioned Mike Waltz, his national security advisor. And the backstory to what we're being told from people off the record is that Waltz was in favor of bombing Iran, and they were apparently working on something behind the scenes with Benjamin Netanyahu to go to war with Iran behind President Trump's back. Now, so this is what we're being told by sources. Situation. Now, like I said, unconfirmed. It makes you wonder why he was taken out of his role there with really no explanation as to why. So with no explanation, I guess we have to just speculate. But that's not a president who wants to go to war. It's a president who wants to be a peacetime president, not a wartime president, like many presidents of the past, George W. Bush, namely, one of the main wartime presidents, to our own self-doing. So President Trump trying to handle Iran amicably, and over on his trip this week to the Middle East, it seems that's exactly what he's done. He's managed to mend the nations of Qatar and Saudi Arabia and the UAE to sort of pit them against Iran a little bit in order to get them to put some pressure to make a deal that doesn't involve war, that doesn't involve senseless war of people dying, kids, children, women, for no reason. But it's a very simple ask. So President Trump, if he's able to get this through, 150% deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. There's no other way to put it. If you can manage to get nuclear weapons out of the hands of Iran, something that no U.S. president has been able to do for the last 25 years, we'll call it recent years, the last quarter century, President Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize because no president was able to do it. Tensions really started to flare up in the late 90s, early 2000s with Iran. Obviously existed before in the late 80s with the the revolutionary, but really started to ramp up around the late 90s, 2000s. So we'll call it 25 years just to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. That's you, George W. Bush. That's you, Bill Clinton. That's you, Barack Hussein Obama. And that is you, Joseph Robinette Biden, if we could even consider him a president of the United States. Donald Trump tried to get it done in his first term. Iran, I think, unwilling and unwilling to negotiate. I think this time around they realized the stakes are a lot higher, and President Trump's not playing around with Israel, ready to go to war tomorrow with them. As I said, President Trump not quite ready to do that. We're going to get to a little bit more of President Trump's trip that he took and everything that went on there. But first, I want to get to something that if you haven't been following the media, you're probably better off for not following it. But it's sort of an interesting story. I'm sure you guys all know who Tucker Carlson is and Tucker Carlson's backstory. So last week, Mark Levin went out on Twitter and responded to a tweet from Steve Witkoff, who happens to be Jewish. President Trump's special envoy, talking about neocons and not wanting to go to war. And Mark Levin came out on the whim and decided to go after Witkoff and say that calling people neocons is a pejorative for calling someone a Jew. Let's take a listen to Tucker Carlson.
Neocon is a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable. And this is in response to Witkoff saying, quote, the neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. So you have Mark Levin calling Steve Witkoff an anti-Semite.
Right. And again,
we've reached peak crate. I mean, I think Witkoff is Jewish, right?
Again, but it's, I don't even know, but it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
He's American and he's on the side of peace. And so I'm for that guy.
So it's sort of interesting, right? Mark Levin, it made absolutely no sense. And that's why I bring it to you, because Tucker Carlson's not really one to go after someone on our own side. But is he really on our own side? If we look back at history, it doesn't really support some of the things that Mark Levin pushed. He pushed America to go to war on behalf of Ukraine and Russia, sending troops over there for whatever reason. I think we're past that point, Mr. Levin. So anyway, so this whole thing happens, and Tucker doesn't take it personally. He doesn't bring it personally to Levin. Levin goes on his radio show recently, as yesterday, and starts going after Tucker Carlson personally. Now let's take a listen to what good old Mark Levin has to say.
So a schmuck picks a fight with me.
Schmuck, personal.
Doesn't call me. He's got this sidekick, sort of I don't even know who this guy Smith is. What was his guess? He's not like an Ed McMahon figure or something? I don't know why all these big-time smart hosts always have to have a sidekick or somebody or a guest.
Let's just pause that right there for a second. Mark Levin does a radio show for 3 hours, and he does a television show every Saturday night for an hour, and he has guests. So sort of hypocritical in the first 30 seconds of him going after Tucker Carlson, I would say, right? Let's continue.
I guess that's what they need. Neoconservatives, ladies and gentlemen, as I was briefly stating, these were mostly, it is sort of a nebulous term, or was, but you can see it would be like the Weekly Standard, where Chatsworth Osborne Jr. actually worked with his good friend Bill Kristol. Didn't they find text or something where he called Trump a dumb F to Mr. Pitt? Something like that. If I'm wrong, Chatsburn, you can put a footnote on that.
No, he's talking about Tucker Carlson not necessarily agreeing with Trump on things. But what Mark Levin seems to forget is he wasn't with Trump from the beginning either. Once again, a hypocrite.
But he thinks he runs foreign policy in America. Anybody who disagrees with him has to be smeared. And he brings in these brilliant experts who rewrite World War II and the Holocaust, economists who know history. And then apparently comedians who nobody's ever heard of. Certainly I haven't. But that's okay. That's his gig. He can do whatever he wants. I don't even know his platform. Is it subscription rich? I don't know. It is? So he needs to have hits. He needs subscribers. That's all well and good. I believe in capitalism too. But that said, reading is fundamental.
So, Mark, all of us who do these shows, folks, they don't pay for themselves, right? We all have jobs. We all do things. We all make money. They don't pay for themselves. Mark Levin takes plenty of advertisers, both on his radio show and on Fox News. So for him to be going after Tucker Carlson for simply having advertisers or for having subscriptions for his show, if you have a big audience and you can do subscription-based, it's far better than having to have advertisers come on your show. You give people a base where they don't have to listen to ads and all that good stuff that we love listening to, right? But he's going after Tucker Carlson for making an honest living, a man who's made millions of dollars in his career. And we're talking about Levin here, millions of dollars in his career on radio, millions of dollars in his career on television. Literally everything he said so far has been extremely hypocritical and personal.
We have this site Mediaite, which is really a low-life bunch of morons.
There he goes again.
And quote me on that, will you, for once, Mediaite? Low-life bunch of morons. Prepubescent, low IQ individuals who actually don't produce any substance, but take the words of other people, slap headlines on them, and in many cases, twist them out of context.
We'll leave it at that for Mark Levin. I don't want to make you guys any more bored or sick than already you've had been. But literally everything he said on there is hypocritical. Just to the last word, I don't like Mediaite either. But he goes on there and says Mediaite takes quotes of what you says and put it on their website. Well, it's what you said, Mr. Levin, right? It's absurd. Simply because Tucker Carlson called him out and called out neocons who want to push America further into war. Think about that. Mark Levin's been beating the drumbeat for war for a very long time. Because Tucker Carlson simply disagrees with him and calls it a neocon policy, he's a schmuck. Doesn't make much sense, folks. But when they go personal, I think it tells you everything you need to know about them losing the fight, because Mark Levin clearly lost that fight. Clearly very jealous of Tucker Carlson, in my opinion. Couldn't shine Tucker's shoes if he wanted to. But there's that. Like I said, had to go personal. So back to President Trump's Middle East trip. Truly remarkable. He secured trillions of dollars so far in deals. Trillions of dollars for America on the world stage while overseas there. Something I don't think Joe Biden could have done on his best days, and not even this past presidency. But had Joe Biden been president 20 years ago, I don't think it's something he could have done. I don't think it's something any president could have done. Trillions of dollars, over $3.5 trillion in U.S. investments for companies here in America. It's truly unbelievable. America owes a great deal of gratitude to President Trump and the work that he's doing, because he doesn't need this. You know, we talk about this often on the show. He could have went off into retirement, enjoyed himself, except instead he's out here traveling the world, doing deals for America. He's when he's gone out of the presidency, and we realize what we've got until it's on. It's truly remarkable. The mainstream media has had a hard time covering him, though. This last few months since he's taken office, they don't know whether to hit him. They don't know whether to be on his side. Some days they're on his side. Some days they hit him. They hear out what comfortable median is because all they know is beating the heck out of him, lying, fueling propaganda, which is what they've done for the last 10 years against the man. He's a racist. He's a xenophobe. He's a misogynist. He's an anti-Semite. I mean, they've used every single adjective to describe this man, none of them ever being true. There's really only one, and it's brilliant. Great American, patriot. Those are the ones that come to my mind. All he's tried to do is make this country great again, and he's doing a terrific job. President Trump addressed the media issue over in Qatar. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the media. The media, I have to say, has been very fair. They've been very fair. They've been terrific, actually. I was watching some of our, normally they would not say good things, but they're having a hard time saying bad because this is a record tour. There's never been a tour that will raise, it could be a total of $3.5–4 trillion. This just in this 4 or 5 days. And it's from great people. And our relationship now is very strong with Saudi Arabia. Nobody's going to be bothering that relationship. Nobody would be able to break that relationship because of my relationship with the Crown Prince and the family. The relationship is really strong. And when you talk about Qatar, the relationship is equal. I mean, it's just like nobody's going to break that relationship. We have never had a relationship with Qatar as strong as it is now. You know that better than anybody, and they're very happy, and we're going to protect you. We're going to protect you. That's the one thing you need, maybe, but I don't think you're going to need too much of that. And I said last night, it was a great meeting, great everything. They brought in Lee Greenwood to sing. It was a beautiful evening, and I appreciate it.
So President Trump saying, his relationship with Saudi Arabia and Qatar can never be stronger. But you've got Mark Levin, just going back to him for a second there, on Twitter calling them terrorists, terrible people. So which one is it, Mark? You want to go after Tucker Carlson for 2016, not agreeing with Trump on things, but this is you yesterday going against the America First agenda. Whenever it doesn't fit Mark Levin's agenda, it's not America First. So that tells us all we need to know. While President Trump was over there, he took a quick stop, as he likes to do, to pay some respects to our military. I'm probably saying this wrong. Al Udeid military base in Qatar. He stopped by to show his respect for the troops. Let's take a listen.
My trip is 4.5 days, but this is the one I was so looking forward because I'm with the people that I really love and respect. We love and respect you. This is what you're doing, the service you do for your country. You keep us safe. There is no more important profession. And I was so proud to see those reports coming in just a few days ago saying that the enrollment is at the highest level ever, especially when I had to suffer running against a group of people that were very inappropriate, where they allowed that reputation of what you stood for and what you stand for to deteriorate to a point where we weren't able to recruit. So just remember this, you have a job now that everybody wants. Everybody wants to be doing what you're doing. It's a special job. And I'm so proud. When I saw those numbers come across the board that we set the record for enrollment in the military, and we took that from the exact opposite just 6 months before, I was very, very proud of that. We have a great country. We have a proud country. We have a country that's respected all over the world. And as I said before, a year ago we were laughed at, but nobody's laughing at our country anymore. We're the most respected country anywhere in the world. And thank you very much, and enjoy your lives, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The guys love Donald Trump. I think the overwhelming majority loves the military, love Donald Trump because they know he's got his back. He got their back. You heard him mention recruitment numbers that were down because nobody wanted to go in the military under Joe Biden. Nobody wanted their kids deployed out to war, senseless wars. Okay, sometimes war is necessary, right? In the course of our lifetime, some were justified. But for the last 25 years, we can't name a single war that we've been in that has been justified for anything. Iraq, Afghanistan, you may not necessarily call them wars, but deploying troops, those are people's kids. Syria, not one of them has been justified. All totally senseless, which is why I get so heated up and fired up about Iran and going to war with Iran. Another senseless war. If Iran wants to escalate, then we escalate. But President Trump going diplomatically first to get things sorted and under control is the absolute right way to do things. And that's exactly what President Trump has done. And he's, been by himself with some members of his team. So President Trump, like I said, a peacetime president, something we haven't seen in a very long time. Something that, I've really only seen in my lifetime recently. Born in the 90s, from the 90s to now, it's been tumultuous times for America on the world stage. We're in everyone's business. We're getting involved in everyone's business. And, we pay the price. We absolutely pay the price.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Let's turn now to some news here at home, folks. The Supreme Court is taking up birthright citizenship. Sort of interesting, right? You have the majority in the Supreme Court, so everything should be fine, right? We should be able to finally get rid of birthright citizenship once and for all, except for one person, Amy Coney Barrett, who time after time seems to be the biggest disappointment there, proving once again that she's the worst pick. I guess close second is Brett Kavanaugh, who has been there. Gorsuch has really been the only pick who's been a consistent conservative and a constitutionalist. Take a listen to Amy Coney Barrett going after the Trump administration, her issues with ending birthright citizenship.
Opinions and judgments here. Did I understand you correctly to tell Justice Kagan that the government wanted to reserve its right to maybe not follow a Second Circuit precedent, say in New York, because you might disagree with the opinion?
Our general practice is to respect those precedents, but there are circumstances when it is not a categorical practice. It is, and that is not
this administration's practice or the longstanding practice. And I'm not talking about in the Fourth Circuit. Are you going to respect a circuit? I'm talking about within the Second Circuit. And can you say, is that this administration's practice or a longstanding one?
As I understand it, longstanding policy of the Department of Justice. Yes, that we generally, as it was phrased to me, generally respect circuit precedent, but not necessarily in every case. And some examples might be a situation where we're litigating to try and get that circuit precedent overruled and so forth.
Well, okay, so I'm not talking about a situation in which, you know, the Second Circuit has a case from 1955 and you think it's time for it to be challenged. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in this kind of situation. I'm talking about this week, the Second Circuit holds that the executive order is unconstitutional. And then what do you do the next day or the next week?
Generally, we follow those.
So you're still saying generally?
Yes.
And you still think that it's generally the policy, longstanding policy of the federal government to take that approach?
That is my understanding.
Okay, so, but it sounds to me like you accept a Cooper versus Aaron kind of situation for the Supreme Court, but not for, say, the Second Circuit. Like where you would respect the opinions and the judgments of the Supreme Court, and you're saying you would respect the judgment, but not necessarily the opinion of a lower court.
And again, and I think in the vast majority of instances, our practice has been to respect the opinion as well, in the circuits as well. But my understanding is that has not been a categorical practice in the way respect for the precedents and the judgments of the Supreme Court has been.
So you're not hedging at all with respect to the precedent of this court?
That is correct. I believe the quotation from our application directly addresses that, and we stand by that completely.
Okay.
This is supposed to be a conservative on the Supreme Court. Doesn't sound too promising for Amy Coney Barrett and her doing the right thing on birthright citizenship. John Roberts is going to be the other one they'll need. So they need one or the other. Not too optimistic on either. I think it's time we start looking into some of these justices and follow some money and see where money's being spent, see where money's being made, because far too many coincidences. I'm not entirely sure how Amy Coney Barrett managed to fool everybody, because that's exactly what she's done. She's managed to fool every single person, including President Trump. Truly, truly sickening that this is what we've got to deal with. We think we've got some conservative justices in there. It's quite the opposite. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or as Tucker Carlson likes to call her, Sandy Cortez, from Westchester County, New York, rich suburban town up in northern New York City, going after Tom Homan, demanding answers from him. Tom Homan, completely unfazed by it, went on with Jake Tapper the other night. Had this to say for Sandy Cortez.
First of all, you can't intimidate me. Come on, give me a break. You know, I was enforcing it. I was wearing a green uniform, Border Patrol agent, for 5 years before she was even born. I had more than 3 decades enforcing immigration law before she became a member of Congress. I worked for 6 presidents. I've seen policies. I've seen hundreds of policies. Some worked, some didn't. But you can't deny the success of the Trump administration when it comes to border security. Again, the most secure border in the history of this nation. And I said from day one, and she knows this, you can not support ICE. Shame on you. You can support sanctuary cities. Shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't knowingly impede ICE law enforcement officers. That is a felony. You can't harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. That is a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass. You know, and as far as New York, her district, this administration has done more to protect her district than she has. The number of criminal aliens we took off the streets of New York made her community much safer. She ought to be thanking the members of this administration, the men and women of ICE, who protect this country and make her community safer. So, you know, it's politics over public safety. It's just ridiculous. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump, because we're doing a lot to protect her community.
I mean, he's absolutely right. The double standard is unbelievable. Sandy Cortez. Now, President Trump's Department of Homeland Security is asking for 20,000 more National Guard members to help with immigration down at the southern border. President Trump's playing no games. He's going to secure this border once and for all. Another promise. Yeah, I mentioned for 25 years we weren't able to get a deal with Iran, or anything close to a deal with Iran, for that matter. For 25 years, even longer, we haven't managed to secure our own borders. Another issue. Something as simple as securing your own border of your country. Simple. Couldn't do it. I don't think it's that we couldn't do it. I think it's that we didn't want to do it. Our leaders, our feckless leadership. And that goes for the House of Representatives right now, folks. Speaker Mike Johnson has canceled all votes scheduled for tomorrow, Friday, May 16th. It's unclear why. They haven't given a reason. This week, we saw members of Congress on the committee hearings, a whole bunch of things going on Capitol Hill, just a spit in the face of our faces from these people. Truly disrespectful. We pay them to go to Washington, D.C. to be our representation on the national stage, sleeping in committee meetings. Mike Johnson canceling votes for tomorrow. Why, Mike Johnson? Why? What have you done since January 20th, Mr. Speaker? Tell me what you've done. Signed fewer bills into law, President Trump's bills into law, than any president for the last 75 years? I don't know any person. Now, I constantly have people telling me, give them time, give Pam Bondi time, give this guy time, give her time, give Mike Johnson time. How much time are we supposed to give these people? Time is money. I'm sure you've all heard that from your parents or somebody. Time is money. And this is time that we're wasting. We sit here today on May 15th. In about a month, the House of Representatives goes on vacation pretty much for the rest of the summer to come back in September. And they really don't get back to work until October. So how much time are we supposed to give Mr. Speaker Johnson? How much time are we supposed to give Pam Bondi? Because before you know it, you snap your fingers, November is going to be around the corner, and President Trump will already be a full year into his term and will now be 1 year out from the midterm elections. So do we give them another 6 months, or do we give them another year of time? It drives me nuts because I constantly get people messaging me and tweeting me and emailing us saying, give them time. So my question to the timers, how much time are we supposed to give? Because 1 year from November, President Trump, if they lose the House, will be impeached once again. It's not a guess, it's a guarantee. He's going to be impeached by the Marxist Dems. The rhinos do not help. The rhinos absolutely do not help. So my question to the people who want time, how much time are we supposed to give before it's enough time, before we run out of time? And will those same people who want time say, when time runs out, we should have done things differently? Will they be the ones pointing the fingers, saying this is what should have been done? I've said this from before Mike Johnson got into office, before President Trump took office. We need to get rolling quick. Mike Johnson needs to have a short leash on him because we waste time, and we run out of time. Like I said, it's very frustrating. We need to keep our foot on the gas, our eyes on the prize. Mike Johnson has done the absolute opposite. These members of Congress have done the absolute opposite. It's taken 17 House Republicans this week, led by Congressman Andy Ogles of Tennessee, to beg Mike Johnson to codify President Trump's executive order into law, because they warn that when a Democrat takes over, they will just undo it with executive order, just as we've seen happen in the past. Now, those 17 members of Congress, Rep. Andy Ogles, as I mentioned, Keith Self of Texas, Mark Harris of North Carolina, Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, Clay Higgins of Louisiana, Barry Moore of Alabama, Mary Miller of Illinois, Eli Crane of Arizona, Brandon Gill of Texas, Ralph Norman, South Carolina, Marlon Strutzman of Indiana, Eric Burleson of Missouri, Randy Weber of Texas, Michael Cloud of Texas, Ben Klein of Virginia, Tim Burchett, our good friend Tim Burchett of Tennessee, and Paul of Arizona. How much time are we supposed to waste? Like I said, Congress has sent fewer bills to President Trump to sign a law than any Congress in 70 years. So everyone who wants to give them time, you just let us know. Shoot me a tweet at John Fawcett NY. You can email us, info@loudobbs.com. I'll even have you on the show if you want to debate time. I'd be happy to. Because time is money, as I said, and we're running out of time with these people wasting our time. I've said time a lot, but it's just the truth.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Let's turn to the Marxist-run media, the mainstream media. These people who have lied, cheated, stole elections. We say 10 years because that's when President Trump first came to the spotlight, and that's when they really ramped up their lying. But these people protected. We're now finding out some stories about Joe Biden. We find out this week Joe Biden has a nodule on his, I believe, his prostate. That's not news anyone wants to get. We pray for him and his family. Nobody wants that kind of news, regardless of how bad a person you are. God doesn't like evil, right? So, but the mainstream media propped up Joe Biden for years. For 4 years, they propped him up. We're now hearing stories that aides close to him were getting ready to put him in a wheelchair if he won re-election, and Kamala didn't take over. They're also blaming Joe Biden for making Kamala Harris lose by not dropping out earlier. Last I checked, I can't stand Joe Biden, first of all, but last I checked, Joe Biden was duly elected by his peers that went to the ballot box and they voted for him in a primary. So any notion or stipulation that Joe Biden lost you an election is nonsense. If you wanted Joe Biden out, you should have primaried him. Because that's how we do things in a democracy here. The Democrats always want to talk about threats to democracy. That's what democracy is. It's going to the ballot box and voting, which is what they didn't do. So going back before I got on that little rant there, the mainstream media propped him up for 4 years. He looks great. He sounds great. And then as the election came closer and it became more evident that he wasn't good and that he was quickly deteriorating and he had dropped out, they started to turn on him a little bit. They started to turn. Maybe he's not all there after the debate. But now they're all all looking back like, whoa, what happened? I didn't know something was wrong with him. Let's play for you a little hypocrisy reel from the mainstream media looking back.
Other people who were there, and we should note that the Biden White House falsely, when people showed that clip and asked what was going on, said it was a cheap fake. They did this all the time when there was video that seemed to show Biden acting in an odd or unusual, seemingly out of it way. They would call it a cheap fake. It was not fake. It was actual video.
A lot of memes and what the White House is calling cheap fakes, which means that there are videos that are being put out on social media and then amplified on conservative media that in some cases are just not right, and in other cases are highly, highly misleading of President Biden. So it's the question that I started this conversation with, is how much to talk about it versus how much to just kind of ignore it, which is a reality. You have a 78-year-old and an 82-year-old, 81-year-old, and we have lots of examples of both of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Trump's aren't played as much, but both of them appearing to use your words, lose a step.
I think what the White House and Biden campaign, what they have an issue with is that these outlets are wrapping these videos in very misleading context, right? Saying that this is evidence that Biden was freezing. He's unable to walk off stage on his own. And that's obviously not the case. But that's how it's being portrayed in right-wing media. And it plays into this years-long narrative where they have tried to portray Biden as a senile old man, incapable of governing the country. And this is just the latest example.
The White House press secretary used the phrase cheap fakes, the idea of cheap fakes. Let me explain what that is to people. We've been worried for years about AI deep fakes, that computer generated images are going to trick people into believing something that's totally false. Cheap fakes are a little bit simpler. They're cheap. They're just distorted, out of context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways. That's what we're seeing. That's what the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is so worried about right now. But make no mistake, they are worried about this. This is a real problem. This is not some made up fiction. The videos are oftentimes made up, but the problem is real.
Cheap fakes, deep fakes. How many times did you hear them say, I wish I had a bingo card? Right-wing media. Can you imagine that? They blame the right-wing media for Joe Biden going up steps. It was elder abuse what they did to the man. They propped him up like Weekend at Bernie's and expected this man to show up to be president, to show up a few days a week and be president. Who's responsible for that? Is his wife, his son? Who knows? But the mainstream media lied to us for 4 years. They told us how healthy he was up until the last days. You heard Brian Stelter, who's been fired from his job. I can't imagine he got fired for lying, but cheap fakes, deep fakes, they knew damn well that Joe Biden had lost it. And it wasn't just the last 4 years. He was losing it before that. It's what happens. It's the evolution of life. It's going to happen to all of us one day, unfortunately. And that's our time to ride off into the sunset and enjoy the end of our life and not become president of the United States. That's our time to enjoy with our family. There's one thing that's guaranteed, folks, is the day that you're born is the day that you begin to die, okay? We all are going to hit a stage in life where we start to slow down. I feel like I'm hitting that already after a game of golf. I'm hurt for the next week, but we all hit that point. There's nothing unusual about it. There's nothing abnormal about it, right? Everyone hits it at a certain point. Everyone hits it at a different point. President Trump and Joe Biden are about the same age, and President Trump shows no signs of slowing down. It could be his unbelievable genetics. Who knows? But we all hit that point. The fact of the matter is that we were lied to. Well, not us because we were smart enough to know, but the American people were lied to. Over 70 million Americans were lied to. Or in 2020, 80 million. Quote, 80 million, right? And we were lied to. And the mainstream media has gotten away with it, and nobody's ever held them accountable. Now they come out, Jake Tapper, Brian Stelter. They all want to come out and say, well, we didn't know. We didn't know those weren't deep fake videos. We thought the man was completely healthy. If you still tune into these networks as a Democrat, other than for satire, I really don't know what to tell you, because these people lied to us and they lied and they lied and they lied and they got away with it. Nobody ever held them accountable. Advertisers never held them accountable, still advertised on their shows, but they propped up a man for 4 years, even longer, that he was healthy, and clearly wasn't. Folks, before we go today, we've got a good story to end the day with before we head into our Friday tomorrow. Lee Zeldin at the EPA has been doing a pretty decent job over there. He's looking to eliminate something from our cars that I think we could all agree on we can't stand. If you've got a car newer than 2021, 2020, when you pull up to a stoplight, do you ever notice the car just shuts off? Then when you get ready to go again, the thing decides to start back up? Well, a few years ago, the woke EPA decided to give tax credits to car makers who put those in their cars. So, of course, everyone is going to do it. But Lee Zeldin is now saying, enough's enough. It doesn't do anything for the environment. It doesn't do anything. Hurts your car. right? Sitting at a stoplight. If you're driving in this New York City all day, sitting at a stoplight, starting at a stoplight, stopping and starting your car 100 times a day. You know, there is a starter motor in the car that eventually starts to go. Lee Zeldin is deciding to go away with it. So in the next few months, we're going to see that start to get phased out, hopefully by some car companies. Let's make an example. Let's start here in America. Jeep, GM, Ford. Let's get that stuff the heck out of cars. Nobody wants to deal with it anymore. Folks, that's it for us today. We hope to see you back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Against all odds, against all enemies, against all haters. We'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night, everybody.